restraining regulations. So there is some policy measures in second phase of economic reform. Tax and non-tax revenue, which is known as income of the government, which is to fulfill the reduce of deficit or gaps of economic reform. So this is the fiscal policy reform. In the monetary policy reform, if we see, the government of India under monetary policy reform initiated or pursued a restrictive monetary policy for reducing inflationary pressure and also for improving balance of payment positions in case uh, in case uh, in case price rising in a country, the customer will be import from the other countries or foreign country, because of which foreign payment will be outflow and there will be shown in deficit in the economy. So there need to reduce inflationary pressure to improve the BOP or balance of payment in economy. So this is the monetary policy reform. And the third one is price policy reform. So in order to reduce budgetary provision for subsidies and to promote more flexible price structure, the government increased the administrative price of various commodities and input, which are the petroleum products and fertilizers, and gave greater freedom to enterprise who set up for price as per market process. When there is price is increased, supply is decreased and demand will increase, the producer or sellers make import or bring products from the other sides or other country and make supply in our country. And in this case, government ordered to sellers to control the price of the product, which being greater for the economy. The next point is industrial policy reform. In order to make necessary reform in the industrial policy, Government of India introduced new economic policy in 1991. So in this new economic policy, various measures are undertaken by the government as follows: abolition of industrial license for all industrial projects except 18 industries. There's so much restrictions for the entrepreneurs to make their industries, so that there applies industrial in license, which makes some easiest for the entrepreneurs to achieve their goals as build on new industries with improvements. So this reservation of area public sector comes 7 to 8, which is diminished process in industry. This is also a second point of industrial policy reform, which defense, railways, post and telegram is always under for government. Between those 8, then gave out of 17 to the private sector to build their industry, which was work as without restrictions. And And the third point is elimination of the system of the pre-interest scrutiny and of the investment decision of the MRTP companies. So MRTP company, which is monopolistic and restricted trade practice under MRTP Act 1969. Elimination of the system of the pre-interest scrutiny of the investment decision of the MRTP companies. So the next point is liberalization of location policy of economy reform, which is in the previous year government made some restrictions in the location that in which area people can use for industries and which not, but nowadays through the some independency and liberalization, people can use all locations as they want according to their work, but with the government permission. But in the previous government was totally restrict about it. Now the foreign investment policy reform, in order to promote export of Indian commodities in international markets, and on international markets from trading company are allowed to raise their foreign equity investment up to 51% for export activities. According to new industrial policy 34, priority industries giving automatic permissions for direct foreign investment. So in foreign investment policy reform made provision for increased flow of foreign investment with modern technology and managerial skills. The government launched second wave of FDI reform, allowing 100% inflow in civil aviation and food processing etc., which is in norms in defense and in pharmaceutical. The next point is public sector policy reform. Government wanted to make some reform in public sector because there is huge amount of losses incurred by good number of policy sector undertaken. That's why government has taken various policy measures of making necessary reform of the public sector, which are discussed below. That's a reservation of list of industries under public sector has been reduced to 8 against 17 industries, which is 8 out of 17. Progressive reduction of budgetary support of public enterprises, inviting private sector participations to increase market disciplines and also the competitive capacity of public sector enterprises. Disinvestment in selected enterprises, private investment are increased, and government or public sectors are discussed or reduced because of lack discipline and lack of giving importance to their work in the public sectors. So the next point is trade policy reform. In the context of globalization, the trade policy reform develop a high brand export sector and create a regime of price-based system. So the main objective of this trade policy reform is to eliminate the progressive system of license and quantitative restrictions for capital goods and raw materials. This policy reform also made provision for a reduction of the scope of policy public sector monopoly for most export item and also a good number of import items. The government also modified the exempt policy to achieve 1% share in global exports. And again, the new foreign trade policy 2015 to 20 announced by the NDA government for increasing export of goods and services as well as generation of employment. And this NDA full form is National Democratic Alliance Government, and this National Democratic Alliance government for increasing export of goods and services as well as generation of employment. The last point is social policy reform. In case of social policy reform, the main objective is poverty elimination. Then the government allocate higher amount of outlays with expenditure on elementary education, so rural drinking water supply assistance to small and marginal farmer, program for the welfare of scheduled castes, scheduled tribe and other weaker sector of the society. Apart from that, government also focuses on women and children welfare and also on infrastructure and employment generations projects. So government also introduced national social assistance scheme in the form of housing provision, old age pension, maternity benefit for those who's living in below poverty line.